One that trips up a lot of people is the tell us about yourself question. Yeah, because while you do want to show your real self and you want to give a window into who you are and how you communicate, rambling and focusing on irrelevant details can really bore your interviewer and help them make a decision about you from the get-go.
100%. Think carefully about your probably no more than 2 to 3 minutes of the interview that you're going to use in order to have this introduction about yourself. And don't start at high school. So
some people still do, and they over-index on the personal information. And I think the personal information is important because work-life balance is important. So yeah,
I always think about this as practice the elevator pitch about yourself. If you're wasting time talking about yourself outside of the relevance to the job, the opportunity, you have just blown it.
And I think 4 minutes is your absolute maximum. Sort of give about 30 seconds to talking about yourself and then give your career highlights as they relate to the job.
Yeah, so here's the thing, is that every skilled interviewer will have gone through a resume or certainly even a LinkedIn profile and probably identified the sequencing and picked up gaps that have not been accounted for. Don't wait for somebody to say, oh, I noticed that there was this gap, what was going on here? Anticipate that those questions are going to be asked and have a solid, honest, direct answer.
Gaps in resumes are a lot more common than they used to be. Women leave the workforce and then return. They are child-rearing gaps. There has also been a large number of people who made lifestyle decisions in the height of COVID, where they were allowed to work remotely and have now been asked to return to the office and are unwilling or unable to do that. And that has left a lot of very real gaps. And then there are companies that have gone through large-scale retrenchments, leaving many people without work. There's often been a lot of shame in having a gap in your CV, but there are practical reasons why that happens.
If you haven't done a test drive for a virtual interview, that is just inexcusable. I just can't believe how many people have gone still to this day, now that we've all been working virtually, baglighting.
Or they lean in too much because there is evidence that when you see a person's face that close, it triggers almost like a fight or flight response in you, because in the real world, you don't sit that close to a person to speak to them. And the thing about lighting is that if you're wearing glasses, just be very aware of the light that is coming at you.
And the glare is definitely a barrier to connections. If you're using a blurred background, make sure you're not doing that weird coming in and out thing, because that is so distracting. At the same time, if you're just using your natural surroundings like we have here, make sure you're well positioned. It's not that difficult to figure that out these days.
And it doesn't have to be curated or aesthetically pleasing. It just needs to show you off in the best light.
If your home office is still in your bedroom, just make the bed. So what is appropriate for a virtual interview in terms of attire?
I think you always err on the side of more formal, even if that's not the way you dress for your current job, and even if the company has given the impression that they are more relaxed with dress. It's not only a signal to them that you're taking the interview seriously, but it's almost a way of adapting your body language. You naturally show yourself off in a better light when you are dressed more formally.
I interviewed somebody recently who actually was in a jacket and a tie. It did give me an indication of the fact that he was coming to the conversation with a level of preparedness and a respect for the conversation. Let's talk about the jargon lovers, people who pepper their sentences with words that they think are very fancy or related to their sector, but don't actually say anything.
And we're talking about the people who are only all about the blue sky thinking.
You come away from a whole interview having no idea what that person actually does.
Your manner of delivering your achievements or what you say about yourself, you make yourself more accessible and more relatable as a person, the more real you are.
My sense is that if I ask a question and the person can't explain it back to me in real English words so that I can understand exactly what they've done, then there's a problem.
But who can nevertheless do the technical interview if and when necessary, because you do have to be able to code switch between the highly technical and the commercially relevant as necessary.
When you are communicating with somebody who is a technical expert and who is able to engage with you at a level of jargon,
And could smell the nonsense answers a mile away.
right, yes, then you can use all the jargon you want. I have encountered so many times when I've asked the question and the person has either misunderstood or deliberately taken that and just gone off on a tangent and really not answered the question, either hoping that I will get distracted enough in order to not remember what the question was in the first place. They've left, and I thought, I just didn't get an answer to that question. Some people either don't hear, or they're already thinking about the answer before you finish asking the question, or they just go off on a tangent. That is a sign of somebody who's either not listening or not focused, or is deliberately trying to avoid answering.
I think there are some people who have scripts that they need to get through, and because they're prepped and by Jove, are they going to make sure you hear that very well curated answer? People also need to expand what they need to prepare for. If there was a difficult project you were working on, if there's been a gap in your resume, if you worked with challenging people, I think there are questions that you should be trained to expect. Have responses ready for all of them.